Well, good morning, men. Hope you're having a good morning. Hope everything's going good. Hope you had a good showing. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you guys. I wanted to so bad, but one of our number one things here at this church, and one thing that I try to encourage with our staff is our family's our first ministry, which really kind of goes right into what I'm wanting to kind of talk to you guys about this morning, and really in a series that we've started a couple months ago. Got a little busy, so we've been distracted from it. But we've been in Luke chapter 5, and there's a story here that is told that challenges kind of where we are at as men. We tend to try to carry it all on our own, and in pursuit of that, we tend to miss the mark quite a bit. This story really displays what it really means to have good people in your corner. Literally speaking, metaphorically speaking. But I want to get into this, but before I do, one of the main reasons why we've even started this series, why I feel like God has really put this on our heart is I feel like that men really should be leading their homes. That's a biblical thing. That's not just me. This is the Lord that has challenged men to do that. And when we get into seasons to where we're struggling personally, how do you minister to your family? How are you able to shift gears and be able to go into this when you have things that are going on in your life that, man, they're just so challenging, they're hard, it's tough. So we just want to keep pouring into you, myself and Gio, Hunter. We just want to be able to love on you guys. I'm going to be doing the teaching part of this, and then I got some questions that will hopefully open up a good dialogue between you guys where we can just kind of talk through some stuff. But I want to read this first, and then I want to get into what we're going to be really discussing this morning. So it's going to be in chapter 5 of the Gospel of Luke, verses 17 through 24. It says this: Now it happened on a certain day as he was teaching, Jesus, that there were Pharisees and teachers of the law sitting by, who had come out of every town in Galilee, Judea, and Jerusalem. And the power of the Lord was present to heal them. Then, behold, men brought on a bed a man who was paralyzed, whom they sought to bring in and lay before him. And when they could not find how they might bring him in because of the crowd, they went up onto the roof, onto the housetop, and let him down within his bed through the tiling into the midst before Jesus. When he saw their faith, he said to them, Men, your sins are forgiven you. And the scribes and Pharisees begin to reason, saying, Who is this who speaks blasphemy? Who can forgive sins but God alone? But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answered and said to them, Why are you reasoning in your hearts? Which is easier to say, Your sins are forgiven you, or to say, Rise up and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. He said to the man who was paralyzed, I say to you, arise, take up your bed, and go to your house. We worked through this the last time by me really encouraging all the men to say, hey, listen, this was a very crazy scenario. This was something that you didn't really see a whole lot. When Jesus' ministry was really starting to come to a rise, where they were realizing that he really did have something special going on, and there was something that he was speaking that was the truth, specifically with all the miracles and things that had happened. People were just surrounding everywhere that he went. He was in there teaching, Jesus was. And it was so full that these men had noticed that their friend was paralyzed and that he needed some help. And the only way to do this was in a supernatural way. They believed in Jesus, that there was something supernatural about him, that they could do this. And they loved their friend enough to grab a corner and carry him. And when they got to the room and found that there was no way in, they didn't just stop there. You see, these men were not just your normal men that are just like, man, I tried my best, bud, sorry, but man, the rest is kind of on you. Maybe when he comes out after this, he'll touch you and heal you or something. Absolutely not. These men are somebody that's different. These are men that have been challenged and championed in someone's life that show care, that show that there's something that they can do to benefit their friend for Christ. And they went out of their way to get him to Christ in the midst of this awful season and place that he was in, being paralyzed. They said, we're not just going to take him to where Jesus may be around. We're not just going to take him to church. We're not just going to invite him to church. We're going to take a step further. We're going to do some discipleship. We're going to be pouring into them. We're going to check in on them, metaphorically speaking, in comparison to what they did, which is they climbed some stairs. They had to have. I mean, they didn't just jump on the roof. There was a way that they had to navigate to get to the roof. And then the next question is how did they get them through the roof? The roof is covered. It's a roof. It doesn't say anything about it being an awning or a porch or something that just had an opening there. They just kind of slide them in. They had to break through the roof. So again, I want to emphasize a whole lot on this, that this was not just something that was just a quick, easy, invite a friend to church type of thing. These were some men that really, truly, deeply cared about their friend. And even moreover, they didn't just care about their friend. They really believed that getting them to Jesus and discipling them and facing them and getting them in front of Jesus as much as they possibly could bring healing and fulfillment to his life. We're in a season to where we need good men around us, that we're going to fall. We're going to struggle. We're going to have hard times. We're going to have hard seasons. We're going to be struggling in our marriage, our work life, and balancing, and kids, and all the things, man, that we go through. One thing that was pointed out to me by Casey Armstrong, actually, after we had talked about all this that one time, is that he said, one thing that I noticed that I got out of it is that he'd been living on this mat. It was something that, it doesn't say anything, and we can only assume that it doesn't say anything about them rolling him on a specific mat and just hauling him off. This guy, most of the time, the paralyzed would have a certain mat that would be able to be carried. It had handles on it. It was specifically for them. They didn't have wheelchairs. And so you got to only assume that they didn't have Depends, and they didn't have some of these things that allowed you to use the restroom. So there had to have been accidents. There had to have been things. This mat had to have been a mess. And thinking of that, man, really is thought-provoking in a sense of, they never once cared. The mat probably smelled like pee, crap, food, bugs. There had to have been all kinds of stuff, the dirt. I don't know. It had to have been a mess, but they looked past the mess to get him to Jesus. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty messy, man. I'm pretty messy, and I got a mess. There's a lot in my life that sometimes can bleed over, and people can see publicly, and there's struggles that I have. There's a part of me that wants to be so much better in areas, and I'm just not. I miss the mark. I'm a mess. Judgment, flesh, all these things can kind of get in our way with brothers and say, you know what? And I'd like to be able to help this guy, but gosh, man, he's a mess, and I don't want that to touch me. I don't want that to get in there. And you know what? If that's you and somebody asks you to be that for them, don't do it reluctantly. Be like Jesus and be like that place to where it doesn't matter what kind of mess somebody's in, you know that you can be a help, and God is driving you towards that. I would challenge us, men, to find others that can grab a corner. We talked about this the last time we met up. I said, you need to find at least 4 men or women. I've got at least one woman in one of my corners that I lean on for wisdom in certain areas. 4 people that you can deputize to specifically reach out to them and say, hey, listen, there's a part of my life that I really need some accountability and some help in. Could you be that for me? Could I reach out to you specifically in those areas and say, hey, I really need your help on this? Find 4 areas, and there could be even more corners than just 4. I just challenged with 4, and to say, hey, would you be willing to help me in this? I gave an example of myself to where there's some times to where, there's times I need help with something pastorally. I've got people like Pastor Terry in my life that I have deputized him to say, hey, Pastor, when I need something on a pastoral point, I can always reach out to him. He's that guy that I can call, and I can not just dump all of my life problems on, but in a specific area say, hey, I know I'm struggling in this area. Hey, what would you do in this area? And I'll tell you what, guys, 9 times out of 10, he looks at me and says, man, you've already kind of figured it out. Just go that way. We get so freaked out like we need some big revelation about things. There's some people that just need to just point us back to the simplicity of the gospel and what God's really trying to call us to do. There's people that you need in your corner. Every single man, I don't care who you are, needs it. Here's why. It's not just you that needs it. It's your families, it's your businesses. They need you to have people in your corner to help structure you, to help bring correction, to challenge you, and to hold you accountable of things that you've committed to or that you're willing to be able to pursue. Life is tough. And I don't mean to make it so heavy and so doom and gloom about things, but as men, man, we carry a heavy load. This isn't something that's easy. Being the head of your house and leading like that, sometimes we don't always have the answer. So last time I challenged you to find people for your corners. Figure out what it was. Mine, I had several corners. One is I need a guy to kind of get me out of this serious pastor mode all the time and go and go and go. I need somebody that's just going to be like, hey man, when I need to just get a break, I'm just going to call you. We're going to set something up. We're going to go hang out. We're going to go do stuff. I need people like Pastor Terry that just give me kind of wisdom to just kind of point me back to, hey, get back to what you had said. There's people in my life that I go through. I challenge you guys to do that. But here's one element I want to talk about this week, and I'm going to give you some questions. I'm going to give them to Gio, and so that he can kind of really open up some dialogue. And I want you to be honest with yourself and everyone around you. Say, hey, listen, there may be some people in this room today that, man, can lock arms with you, that's willing to, that says, hey, I don't have a whole lot of time, but, I can take a phone call. I can take a phone call and I can pray for you. I can challenge you. I can do some things like a short text, or I can say, hey, where were you Sunday, man? We missed you and the family. People in your life that can do that, but will not judge you for the mess that you're in. We're all a mess, and it's going to continue to be a mess in some areas. Some's mess looks worse than the others, but for the most part, there's always somebody out there that can really partner with you and help you and look past these things and see what God sees in you. Because that's the key. Are we seeing men around us, challenging men around us, and seeing them for the men that God has called them to be? Some of you are sitting in this room right now and you're actively avoiding what God is calling you to truly do. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. But I want people, I want you guys to understand that there's people around you that love you, that care for you. We're not all judging. And the ones that are, they're going to have to take an account for that one day. God says, do not judge lest ye be judged. I don't remember what scripture that is. But in other words is, don't be judging folks. You got things of your own that are judging. Don't be judging them when you've got this mess of your own. But judge with grace. You can make a judgment and say, man, they're in a mess. That could be called judgmental. But it's only judgmental when you don't extend grace in that and say, hey, man, I feel for my brother here. He's a mess. Let me step in and love on him. Let me partner with him. Let me help him get out of these things. You may see a brother that's struggling, financially or in their marriage or as a person or as a man, right? And you may be able to add benefit to that. And guess what? You're stepping into a mess, and you need to know that here's the deal. You need to put your gloves on, old doctor gloves, and get in there and get in that mess. I'll leave you with a story that was helpful to me. Jeremiah he was premature, really premature, and he got home from the doctor, and it was a tough one, and he was always sick, and Amy couldn't breastfeed him like she did with the rest of them. It's kind of a long story, and it was hard because she really wanted to, and we did this formula thing. He's allergic to the formula. There was so much stuff. But in this season, when we were trying to figure out what we can and can't feed him, he would mess all over himself. There'd be times that he'd be just spewing, just projectile. And there'd be times where he'd go out the other end, have blowouts in his diapers all the time. And I remember specifically one night, Amy had just had a night. And I knew that I had to get up, work in the morning and all those things, but I wanted to be able to help my wife. I wanted to be there for her. I got up, he was crying, and I went into the bedroom and seen him, and it was just a mess everywhere. And I got to thinking after that, after I got him cleaned up and everything. So, I had a choice that I could look at Jeremiah and say, man, you're a mess, dude. Get yourself cleaned up. I'll be right back. That's what I wanted to say, but he couldn't. He couldn't. What good father or brother would ever look at somebody that's got a mess and say, man, get yourself cleaned up and I'll be back. Get this all cleaned up. I'm not into that. I'm going to gag. I don't want to do it. I don't want to change no diaper. But I did. Why? Because I love him. Love him like a father. And I'm not saying love one another like a father. Maybe that does work out. Honestly, it really may. There may be a fatherly bond that you find with a younger man or something that you can pour into and give them that wisdom. But more than anything, we need to reflect on our love and how we see people as Jesus sees them. Why? Because he's asked us to, and he's challenged us to love our neighbor like we love ourselves, and to love God with everything we have. Loving God being the main thing. And as we get closer to God, our love for one another is just going to grow. And so I want to challenge you guys with these questions today. Hope that it opens up a dialogue. I hope you guys get a lot from it. Man, I miss you guys. I love you, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Man, I hope it goes good. Love you guys, and y'all have a good time.